right, so I'm going to get started on
Morning.
morning on some. We're going to talk about delivery. This might be a fairly short class, all right? So I'm gonna, but I do have some stuff I'd love to show you. I hope it blows your mind, and I'm sure it will. Not always in a good way. Sometimes this is the one subject that seems to intimidate most people, which is how to sound good speaking in front of people, how to not look nervous, right? That's not something that necessarily is easy to do for anybody. All right. Yay, we have someone watching again. Go ahead, post it up in the comments if you want to. What I want to do is I have, let's, my screen went blank here really quick. All right. What I want to do is discuss, there we go. That's a good one. Okay, we'll go back to that one in just a little bit. All right, if you're here watching, go ahead, leave a comment and say hello. Just for the novelty of seeing me reply to you, if nothing else. Oh, you son of a gun. Come on now, let me get rid of that. That is a grant I'm trying to write. I am writing. All right, here we go. Come on now. There we are. What happened to my, here we are. Okay, so let's talk about delivery. Okay, let's start really easy. I want you to imagine yourself, you have an assignment. All right, time to debate. You're going to get up in front of class, or like in this class, it's going to be a lot on Zoom, right? It's just going to be you and one other person. The way I have it set up, because it's all online, is that you're arranging these debates with other people. So it's like just kind of you, but you also know that I'm going to be watching them afterwards, right? So you still have to deliver. What is your biggest concern when it comes to delivery? For example, is your biggest weakness verbal fillers? Or is maybe your biggest weakness just being monotone? Is your biggest weakness long pauses? Like, you know yourself better than I know you, okay? And let's just get these out into the open. Do you know what your biggest concern is when you're speaking in front of other people? Or just picture yourself in front of a larger audience too. That's also a good way of doing it. What are you concerned about?
I would say verbal fillers, and then I kind of like blank out sometimes. Just completely like have like a few seconds where I'm just like forget what I'm going to say and then
Right.
come back to it.
Right. Anybody have something else, or everyone else in agreement with pretty much the same thing, verbal fillers? Yeah. Yeah, Udemy. So Udemy is a great resource for that. That is absolutely why I'm doing it. A little reminder, make sure that you accept the invitation that I sent out. If Udemy is if you're coming up against their paywall and they're saying, hey, you need to pay, don't do that for this semester. All right. So anybody online, if you don't, if for some reason it's preventing you from using Udemy, let me know. I could resend the link, but it should be in your inbox. All right. Just go to the stuff I sent you very early on. Anyways, so yeah, that's absolutely why. And I have found that just being presented with a count of how many verbal fillers you have is oftentimes one of the best things to help you be conscious about it, right? Udemy, I think, does it even better than I do because it's just a robot, and a lot of people think that I'm being judgmental when I talk about, like, maybe I don't have an absolute count of how many, I'm like, you have a lot of verbal fillers. And so I think that one type of feedback has been showing to be really productive. Okay, just being aware of it. And so we're going to talk about your concerns, but I'm also going to give really quick, succinct advice on ways to deal with those things as well. Okay, like, and so maybe these things are things that you are familiar with, and then it's just kind of review, and maybe not. Okay, all right. So one thing I want to share with you is a, let's see here. Let me get a, no, I want to share, not the screen, I want to share a window. Let's do this right here. Okay. So I hope you can hear this at home. Oh, you might not be able to hear this in the classroom because my speakers are so crappy. But let me see if I can get this up a little bit. You can probably see it. If you want to come up to the, you want to come in here and listen to it, but you can see that how it's the listen room. Yeah, and I don't have. Oh wait, I do. Do this. Okay, let's do some feedback. Give me like anyone watching online too. Like, go ahead and post up. What are your first thoughts when you see this? Too fast. Yeah, only words here and there, and it doesn't really make sense, right? Us think about why in the world would anybody do this? Clearly, some of the best debaters in the country speak this fast on purpose, right? They train for it, they practice it. And stuff. Why would anybody do that? They're playing a numbers game. They're trying to have more arguments than their opponents can answer. And if their opponents drop those arguments, then the judges who are trained to listen this fast because they're former debaters, they used to talk this fast, they will vote on the argument that somebody dropped. It's really common. I'm not showing you this because I want you to speak fast. We are not going to practice speaking fast. I'm doing this as a warning that if you go on YouTube looking for debate videos, you might stumble across something like this, okay? Because they do this in college as well. So if we're doing a debate topic and you type that in and you look it up on YouTube and they're speaking blisteringly fast, I don't want you being caught off guard. Okay, so that's one thing, but also just kind of getting you used to the culture of the debate community, right? It's like and what to expect and to not be thrown when you see that. So it's a little bit cautionary. I don't want you getting into it as well. All right, well, so just to get you caught up, talk about delivery. Sometimes you find these debates online. You know, people talking really fast. So I'm like, hey, we're talking delivery. I want, and if you start looking up videos online for delivery and you find this, don't copy them. Don't do that. Okay. All right. So, but yeah. So in delivery, in debate, delivery is used as a tactic in and of itself. At least the rate of speech is used as a tactic. All right. Now we are going to be trying to practice ways to speak in front of a um, what we would call a universal audience. All right. Like if we had an average audience, people that are trained to listen to conversations at this rate. So that's what we're practicing in this class. I don't give special points for you going fast, even if that's what you see in examples. Anyone who joins the debate team, you might find yourself having to speak a little quickly. Okay, that's not something I'm trying to bring into this classroom. Right, this is going to be about what you would consider to be a typically good delivery. We're definitely going to be focusing on reducing verbal fillers, but one thing that happens a lot in debate is that people fail to incorporate vocal variety. And that's going to be something that's the next level. All right. I think that reducing verbal fillers is like the basic level. That's something everyone can practice. This is a nice place to practice that. No judgment. Very aware that everyone's like, if you could reduce your verbal fillers, then you like that's half the battle. Okay. But the next level is what's known as vocal variety. I say the term vocal variety. What do you think that means? If you've already watched the video, you should know what it means. We have delivery videos. Vocalics.
Different institutions, like whether you like your pauses and whatnot, and then I think also using different words. So instead of saying like you can say, or and instead of saying because every single time you can say however,
Yeah.
or on the other hand, like
Yeah.
mix of annotation. Is that the right word? Annotations?
And,
like the way you like when you say a question, you like
oh, annotations, inflections is yeah. I probably would go with inflections. Like you are adding. So we call this para language. It's a language that's next to or included with a language, right? So if you call like a paralegal, it's not the lawyer, but it's the person that works with the lawyer to kind of build the case. And a paramedic is not the doctor, but the ones who. So it paralanguage isn't a language in itself, but it comes along with language and adds meaning to it. So if you're going to add an inflection at the end of a sentence, what does that imply? What does that imply? A question, right? See that? And so, but sometimes people fall into that pattern and it sounds like everything they're saying. We call that upspeak in communication, right? So when people have upspeak, that the end of their sentences sound like they're always asking questions. It's very common amongst teenage women. All right. So that, yeah, so it happens a lot. And so those inflections can actually add meaning to your speech, but it can also become a distraction if it is used improperly, right? And so if you fall into that pattern where you're doing upspeak, then people don't know when you're asking a question, or they start thinking you're asking a question when it's not really a question, right? And like especially rhetorical questions. Cool. Yeah. So vocal variety in a debate is uniquely hard because like in public speaking, if you're doing a persuasive speech, then you are. I don't think I'm going to need any more. I don't know if I need any more visual aids. I'll plug you back in, but so you don't get distracted by looking at me the whole time. All right. The what was I saying? Oh, for debate. So if you're in a public speaking class, you're usually given time to put together a speech, to organize it, right? And then you could practice it and do your dress rehearsals and stuff like that. And then you get up and you perform, and nobody's following you, and they're not saying that you're wrong, right? In a debate, there's more moving parts. And in my experience, it's more likely that people start getting a little bit more monotone. So there's something known as mental load. That's just the amount of stuff that your brain has to do at any one moment. So the mental load for a debate is a little heavier than a typical public speaking experience. Because you're like not only thinking about what you're saying, but you also have to quickly come up with responses to what your opponent said. The things that you didn't prepare for, but you're still working on in your head as you're doing multiple things. And that what that does is it kind of makes you a little bit more monotone. And you're like, my first argument is, well, and you're just reading. That's another thing that makes you monotone is reading. So we're going to talk. So let's talk about advice on how to deal with these issues. All right. So the first one being verbal fillers. One thing is technology. I'm finding is really helpful. So I already talked about Udemy and doing that. But after you've been confronted with how many, does anybody know how many verbal fillers you use on average? Like on Udemy, it gives you a little percentage. Anyone remember your percentage for your speech of introduction? 4%. It's a bit. Anyone else? Like I think it becomes easier to share it when we're just we got these numbers. And now, okay, yeah, check that out. Okay, so you go to the analytics, and it will give you not only the number that you have, but the percentage, right? And I think most students fall in the 1 to 5% range. It is completely common for some of them to get into like up to 10%. That is a bit excessive, but at the same time, it's still common, right? But that gives you an idea of how often you are using verbal fillers. Okay, so now you've been presented with this. Have you developed a game plan about what you're going to do to maybe reduce? No?
I feel like when I try and reduce my vocal fillers, it makes me want to say like or even more.
To say it even more.
I say like.
No, okay.
Like all the time. So right now, like I'm OC.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think not to say like, but it's making me think about like, so I'm saying like more.
Okay. Those times you're using it's for illustrations, though. It's for a purpose.
Right.
All right. Anyone else? Like you've been confronted with how often you use verbal fillers. Developed a game plan yet? Any thoughts about how to reduce them? Like more like presentations. You know what I mean? Okay. Yeah. So you could script everything out and just read it. And full disclosure, people who read manuscripts tend to not have verbal fillers. But what's the drawback that we were just talking about? Monotone, right? So there's this trade-off between being too prepared and verbal fillers. There's right. So you can have some preparation, and it's usually more in the form of outlining rather than scripting. So we make a distinction between outlining and scripting. And in debates, we have a note-taking technique known as flowing. You kind of create flow charts. You've probably been somewhat familiar with flow charts, right? This idea, arrow, that idea, arrow, this idea, right? The word arrows kind of lead you from one idea to another. Same thing. It's like I said this, arrow, they said that, arrow, here's my response, flow chart. Those flow charts are something that competitive debaters practice probably more than anything else. It's the note-taking part of it. So note-taking absolutely helps with verbal fillers. If you are having a debate, even online, Zoom, get something to write with. There are some people that are able to kind of type stuff out, but even then, it requires some training, especially when debates are going pretty quick. The paper and pencil is still the best way during debates. It's just moving that fast. All right, like the ability to format your document electronically while you're listening is actually harder than if you just do it with paper and pencil. Like honestly, just straight up, just get a piece of paper and jot down stuff as you're listening. Okay, so that's one. Take notes every debate. Don't ever sit there with just your outline, okay? Be prepared to take notes about what other people are saying. So, advice number one, take notes, okay? So that is pretty good. The outline doesn't necessarily help you avoid all verbal fillers, though, because it only gives you bullet points to hit. And once you get into that bullet point, sometimes you start doing verbal fillers. So what do you think? How can we reduce verbal fillers in those situations, even when you have notes and an outline? Anyone giving this any thought? Confident? Just be confident?
You're prepared, like just know exactly what you're gonna say at each point. You know?
Yeah. I mean, like more preparation is good. But on these debates, remember, like you should be doing like 30 minutes to an hour of preparation for each debate topic. These assignments are not these sort of 7-8 hour research sessions that you have to synthesize that you might do in other classes. All right, these are more of like short exercises that I want you to execute. Okay, so at some point you're going to miss strategies. Your opponent's going to bring up something that's unpredictable, and you have to be able to adapt to it. Preparation's good, but it's never going to be absolute. It's never going to be complete. And I don't want you freaking out that it's like, oh, I didn't prepare enough. Here come the verbal fillers. So we still need to be able to remove fillers even when we're not prepared. There are these suggestions in your instructional videos online. Make sure that you are keeping up with the protocol stuff, all right? But to reduce verbal fillers, the number one thing that's helped me is to just pause. Just take a moment before you say the next word. It feels like you're leaving people hanging, but people will hang on your next word for a good 2 to 3 seconds, and that feels like a lifetime to the person speaking. So it's enough time for you to come up with the next word, but it's not as long of a silence to your audience as it feels to yourself. So be comfortable with 2 to 3 seconds of silence every once in a while. Totally fine. Pause. That's my number one piece of advice to you. Slow down. Pause. That really helps. It really does. It just sounds like you're thinking, and you are. It's not a lie. You're not making something up. You're thinking. And people like when you think about your next words and you choose your words wisely. Oh, this person cares about what they say. So it's totally fine. I think so that is kind of like confidence, but being confident with silence is pretty helpful. There are a couple other little tips and tricks. One of them is to use conjunctions instead of fillers. Conjunctions are the and, but, so, therefore. Those things help you to come up with the next thing that you're going to say, even if it sounds a little repetitive and you're saying the same thing over again. You know, that was repetitive. Use the word and instead of. If you put a conjunction in there, it just commits you to saying something else, but it doesn't have to be profound. Just avoid the verbal filler. Conjunctions. Doesn't that make sense? All right. So we had the verbal fillers. What else? I want to move on to the vocal variety, but I want to also make sure that we're. How about your body controlling? Like online, we're still trying to have a good presence online. So, how about looking into the camera? That's actually fast becoming a really good skill to have in multiple jobs. Right? If you are in public relations, the ability to look into a camera and answer questions is pretty damn good. Pretty damn good skill to have. All right. It's kind of replacing our eye contact. It's not going to replace it, but like in the different situation where you are in front of a camera rather than an audience, that is your eye contact. All right. So anyone ever have to do that and feel, yeah? Ah, okay. Yeah, and so remembering to look into like right now, my camera has a little green dot right next to it. It's supposed to be drawing your eye there, so you're looking into it. But because I'm talking to all y'all, I'm like looking over it. If you're reading off of your screen, you're looking under it, and it's really obvious. It's really obvious when that's happening. In order to increase your connection with a viewer, you got to look into the camera, and that's hard. How do you do that without looking at your notes? Anyone ever like got any more experience with this? Is this something that you even thought about? So I want you to practice. I want you to practice looking into the camera. Okay, so practice looking into the camera. So that's another reason why outlines tend to be better than manuscripts, because all you have to do is look down at your bullet point. It kind of creates a memory, or it sparks an idea, and then you just run with that idea for a good um, 20, 30 seconds. How about eye contact with a live audience? How are y'all with eye contact in front of a live audience? Anyone know that they got problems with that? Oh, no? Nobody, huh? Okay. We're not going to get too much practice with this in class. We're going to get a lot more practice with looking into the camera. And so I think I'm going to do a little bit better about, I'm like, all right, let's work on looking into the camera, because job interviews, I promise you it looks good. All right. They think that you're looking at them. Like if you're looking into the camera, it seems like you're looking at them, and that helps you communicate. It just helps you connect with people. If it looks like you're reading off of a screen or looking at yourself on screen, it just disconnects, right? So try to look into the camera, but similar like looking to people's eyes. So in a live situation, even though we're not practicing a whole lot, still want to give some advice. If you have real problems looking people in the eye, tip of the nose is pretty good. It's a point, so you could focus in on that. You're not looking into like their souls or anything like that. But you could also look at their forehead if that's a little easier for you. Just a little bit, just a little below the eyes. You can't really tell. Okay. With the camera, it's not the same thing. You're not really looking at a person. There's almost always some sort of light right next to the lens. Just look at the light. Look into the light, and really try to consciously do that. In fact, since y'all are here hearing this, I might be comparing y'all to some of the people who are just doing it online, seeing if there is a difference between how much you're looking into the camera versus them. Right. So yeah, I promise you, it's a good skill to have. It'll feel kind of weird. It feels like you're flying without a net, looking into a camera, because it's soulless. You know what I mean? And you're not looking at your notes when you're doing that. Okay. So okay, but body. Oh, gestures. Okay. Now I do want to have this as an illustration, but I don't need to do. I should have turned it off. Okay. So let's talk about how to look good online. But in the situation that we're talking about, isn't like a influencer type of presence online. We're trying to do like an academic presence, a professional presence online. When you want to look like a professional online, how does that look? And you know what? I actually want to get your feedback on this. What do you think it means to look professional as opposed to influencer? Like, what does the video look like? How would you describe the difference, if there is? You ever thought about this?
I would say like something more professional. well, compared to um, influencers are very focused on like, look at me, right?
Yeah.
So they dress more flashy. Um, they say very, I guess, not all the time something that's controversial, but like the whole very demure, very much.
Yeah,
You know,
okay.
there's always like a key phrase. Um, so, and I think professional is just more direct to the point, not really wearing flashy clothes. Um, influencer is like professionals more well groomed.
Okay.
I do believe that like especially like thinking of like female influencers like Kim Kardashian, you know, they always have like a full face of makeup,
Mm.
very well put together, right? But it's just put together in a way to show off something, whatever that may be. You know, the attention isn't necessarily drawn at that. Look, Kim Kardashian showed you trying to show off jewelry, right? And
Yeah.
then she's wearing all black, but then her jewelry stands out.
Okay.
In very like nuanced ways, but does that make sense?
No, there's some really good stuff there. It's like, first off, like, what are you wearing matters, right? And so remember that in these debates, the expectation is that you have your camera on. And so what you're wearing is going to contribute to your communication. I'm not saying that you should allow it to contribute. It's going to. You can't prevent it from contributing to what you're saying. So control it. Take ownership over it, right? Make sure that it is appropriate for the situation. Don't let it become a distraction because it's going to be part of it. It is impossible for it not to be. So, I mean, something like a collared shirt is nice. Think about it, like hoodie sweaters are very comfortable. They're great. You should go to school in them. But online, maybe not. Hats. I've never seen a cap that is professional. I've never seen anything that looks like, oh, you should wear that to work. You know what I mean? Type of things like that. Sunglasses, any printed t-shirt, anything with a message that people can read, they will. So if you have a shirt on that with any lettering on it, people are going to read it over and over again. Don't let them get distracted by that. Okay, so I would have something without logos, without words, and something that you'd be comfortable in front of an audience or other people seeing. Okay, I also want to take a look at the setup that I like to have when I'm doing anything that I want to look somewhat professional. Okay, one problem that I see people doing is that they have this setup. Sure, right? This is it, and they're reading off of their screen like this, and that's it. What I do is just a little bit of separation. I might have some sort of podium or a tabletop or something like that, so I could write my notes. But now I could use my hands while I'm speaking. I could do gestures. Whereas if I'm like this, those gestures just look like my shoulders are moving. Okay, and it looks kind of weird. So even these decisions matter. And like, look, we're not even talking about debate topics. We're not talking about research. We're not talking about citing sources or anything like that. But when you debate, your appearance matters. And I think you want the strategy, the main central strategy that I want you to think about is don't let your appearance be a distraction. That's all I'm saying. Okay. I very much love variety, and I very much love people being genuine and like expressing themselves and things like that. But remember that the topic of your debate should be the center, and so try to make your appearance not be the center. Okay, but at the same time, don't be somebody that you're not. Cool. So this situation that I like doing, I might even tilt this down a little bit. It's not bad. If I had my druthers, I might lift up the camera even more. I like making the camera so it is eye level, so I get as square of a shot as possible. This one's barely looking up, a little bit of an up shot. You can see like the underside of my nose. If I was kind of pointing straight at it, you get a little bit less. The background is not all that great because I don't have a green screen, so you see how it's like all fuzzy and my hands get caught off every once in a while. And it's kind of busy and it looks a little dirty. So I I might choose something else for something like that. Um, but the fact that I can get my hands into, or some people have called this the circle of influence, like this area right here, not too high up, nothing too low down when you're doing your gestures right here. This is what conveys confidence. A gesture that's right in this area right here is a powerful gesture and something that tends to look professional, right? There's TED Talks on it. There's studies, and we've been coaching it for a long time. So if you can get a situation where, like, right at your belly button, maybe is the bottom of the spot rather than your collarbones, it gives you more opportunity to deliver and look professional while you're doing it. Hell, I mean, I would even recommend this for something like interviews, even, right? When people are like, "Holy moly!" Like that's different. And you see too many people doing just the headshot, and now your face has to work overtime. If you don't have a particularly expressive face, and most people don't, then now it's highlighted that you're not only are you monotone, but you don't have any expression on your face, and this allows your body to kind of get into the action and help you out, gives you a little extra support by doing this. I recommend a setup like this. Okay, yeah. If you can put a green screen, that's great. That's awesome. If you don't, then see this blank wall over here. That's also pretty nice. Um, you want to make sure that what you're wearing contrasts with your background, right? So if it's a white wall, then wearing a white shirt makes it look like a floating head. You want to have some sort of shirt with color on it, so it kind of contrasts that. You don't want a background that has a really similar skin tone to you, right? You start bleeding out. So these are factors that you actually have to have in debate. It's wild. You have to think about a little bit about fashion, a little bit about video setup, lighting. You know what I mean? It's like makeup, hair. All those things are a part of your message. Even if you don't want them to be, there's no escaping it, right? All right, so these are some of the things. Um, talked about verbal fillers. We talked about clothing choices. We talked a little bit about gestures. We were talking a little bit about hair, about our. Oh yeah, and the jewelry. That's a good point. Bringing up. I don't mind anything about jewelry if it's noisy. That might get picked up on the microphone. It might actually be a little bit more, of a nuisance than anything. And you're not selling jewelry, so no reason to include it. All right. But also, anything that's too flashy starts distracting people. But again, just like be authentic, be genuine, be demure, be mindful. All right. Um, So those are appearance things. And like I said, and so these are kind of basics. I'm still building up to the vocal variety. That one's the hard one. I want to make sure I'm touching upon all things. Oh yeah. Online, it kind of hurts your ability to move. So in public speaking, we actually advise you to kind of take the whole stage by walking. Debates typically aren't like that. So if you're watching at home, this computer is on a podium right now. It is really common for you to be tethered to a podium in debate. So in video debates, you don't necessarily need to move around. Okay, I think that like the debate situation is unique from typical public speaking situations. In a public speaking situation, if you have a setup like this, you actually have enough room to kind of take a step anytime you're transitioning. But you just got to be aware of like where you are. See, and then I could go over here and probably back there like that. Right? I can like help with those transitions. If you want to try that in debates, I think that looks pretty damn cool. It's not as much of an expectation in this class. Did anyone already take public speaking? Nobody's taking public speaking. Okay. Okay. Well, that's a little foreshadow. If and when you say public speaking, they're going to try to make you walk while you're talking. Okay, in a specific area. If you're on the speech team, we make you walk during giving speeches as well, right? All right. So this is me and just giving advice. Oh, lighting. I haven't talked about lighting, but we have really cool. totally recommend, like, honestly, getting, I'm going to turn off the damn background here. So the blur will also create, it will also blur this thing that I want to show. So if I'm using visual aids, a blur or a background is going to hurt your ability to do visual aids if you have physical visual aids with you, because it's trying to detect your face, right? And so, and your body, and this is not your face or body, so it blurs it. And so if you want to have so just be aware of that, all right? If you have a green screen, that usually is helpful, all right? Because then it pops out a lot more. But since I don't have a green screen and I want to show some visual aids and capture it on video. So like, listen, in the last couple of years, I've started recommending that students invest in this as just a piece of equipment that they have. You have an interview, all right? You know, like you have a meeting for work. Like, it can hold your it can hold your phone for it, and you have your phone, and you might have a computer on the side to do any sort of, you know, for separate things. Or you can remove this thing in the middle and just put like a webcam, like a plug-in webcam. I'd even recommend investing in a higher quality camera than whatever you have built in to your whatever your laptop. But if you set it up, yeah, you could set it up just right behind as well. And so the ring light is really helpful because it just gives lots of light on your face. Everyone needs to have extra light on your face. Even your crappy laptop camera looks significantly better if you have lots of light. So even, you know, if it looks fuzzy at all, increasing the amount of light is really good. Fluorescents tend to give a little blue hue. A lot of these things have different choices on the colors that they offer, like warmer or cooler, depending on what you're going for. And and they're not expensive, right? These things are, you can get them pretty darn cheap. And they don't take up a whole lot of space. Like, you're going to be online, you're going to be having online meetings where you got to look kind of good. It just really helps. It's a really nice investment. Nice and simple. All right. The stand makes it so you can stand up when you're doing it if you want to, and so you can get this sort of layout that you want. Yeah, I do recommend it for beyond this class, not just for the online debates, for anything that you have in the near future, distant future, where you have to look good. I do recommend it. Right, lighting. My speakers. So let's talk about audio. Right. So one of the problems with online stuff is, like, audio sometimes sucks. For instance, my computer is like 10 years old now. The speakers are blowing out. I had to plug in damn speakers so you could hear. So when I'm online, I now have to put in earbuds for it, and I think that, you know, is fairly common. And so now I have the earbuds linked up through Bluetooth and stuff like that. I do recommend the earbuds over the headphones. Headphones are okay for, like, podcasters and stuff, but when we're trying to go for something like this, I think a minimalist approach is typically better, right? Just solid background, or minimal, you know, background. No words on what you're trying to do is you're trying to focus people on your message as much as possible, and so not allowing distractions to happen is the thing. Okay. I know I'm just kind of like, hey, you should make sure to think about this, think about this, think about this, think about this when it comes to delivery. But all right, yeah. So verbal fillers, eye contact, gestures, light, sound, all these things. Yeah, I think you think about all these things as far as delivery goes, and you're doing pretty good. But you want to really take it to the high levels. So let me put it this way: your debates in this class, they have rubrics. On the rubrics, there's a delivery section. There's a number of items. One of those items are going to be vocal variety. I'd say most students do not max out on vocal variety. That's the one area that most students, and so don't feel bad if you don't, all right? I'm like, yeah, you kind of sound a little monotone. really, really common, not just for students, anybody that is getting practice coaching or speaking. That's the hardest thing to do. The most common thing that you're not doing. It's the thing that will turn you from a competent speaker to just the stratosphere. That's what gets people. You have to think about changing your tone depending on what you're saying. It's hard. You're going to be spending so much energy researching and organizing your thoughts. You might forget to do the vocal variety. That is okay. That is okay. I still am going to talk about it right now. Vocal variety means that you are adding messages to your speech using delivery. That could be gestures, right? Gestures are pretty good. So I'm like, ooh, using my hands all over the place. But think about slowing down, speeding up, pausing, louder, softer, sarcasm, questions, anger, emotions. Those things are what add vocal variety. That's what takes you from like, hey, you did good, B plus, to like, holy crap, you're amazing, A plus. That's the difference. Okay, so you'll do just fine. Don't worry about it. You'll do just fine in the class. But that's what like when I'm giving out like A pluses to people, it's because they have everything and vocal variety. Got it? So, I mean, maybe one of the best things I could do is clarify my grading at this point, but that's what's happening. You can look on your rubric and it's like, yeah, I need to work on vocal variety. But the way that you do that is you have to think about what emotion is appropriate for every given line. What emotion is appropriate, and then try to non-verbally represent that. So let's think about this. If you want to display anger, what does that look like? Describe what you see and hear when somebody is angry, when they're speaking. Aggression, but like aggression is another description, right? It's like, so I need to, or another. To direct in the wrong way. Let's see here. Word choice. Being louder. So volume equals anger. Is that tone? Yeah. Okay. Can we see this? See, my prompt is for people at home. I went to ChatGPT. I said, give me a random sentence to practice vocal variety. And it did great. It said, she cautiously opened the creaky old door, not knowing what mysteries lay hidden inside. Now, the reason I'm doing this is because let's say that you wanted to say this angry. First off, why would someone say this angry? Why would they be angry while saying this? What would they be angry at? What's the motivation? Not knowing? So they're angry at not knowing what's hidden inside? She's not supposed to open the door. So they're mad at her for opening the door, right? You see that? Like when you identify the motive behind what you're like, that's not a bad one. It could be, it's like, I'm not, I think I'm a little bit more confused at the sort of unknown aspect of it. It makes a bit more sense that I'm mad that she did something like she wasn't supposed to, right? Like maybe she was told not to, and you don't have to say that she was told not to. You can show that she was told not to just through delivery. Anybody think they can show that anger through this delivery? Oh, we're shaking our head. Why? Why are we shaking our head? No, would you say that you generally have difficulty with vocal variety?
I just don't know how to do this.
Okay. Notice how, yeah, okay. So it's like she cautiously opened the creaky door, right? Notice the words I'm emphasizing. Oh, the action. I'm mad at the action, so I'm emphasizing the action. I'm doing it with a little bit more volume. My facial expression. I have a furrowed brow, right? My lips are pursed. I'm delivering staccato. Dun, 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 right? That delivery right there adds meaning to this one, doesn't it? All right. Now, instead of anger, what's another emotion? Not anger. Not a trick question. Go for it. Sad. Now identify the motivation. Why would somebody be sad while saying this?
She probably died after opening the creaky door.
Okay, it was dangerous. It was dangerous, right? Like she knew the danger for one reason or another, and you love her. She's not with us anymore. All right. What does that look and sound like when somebody is sad? We were doing good. We were saying it on anger. Let's just do it on a different emotion now.
I think generally the sad takes away from what the person did, but what happened or what caused the incident,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like if somebody got into a car crash, you wouldn't be like, oh yeah, they were listening to loud music, whatever, but it was like, oh, the road was wet,
Yeah.
and they slipped, right? And so instead of being like sounding sad when she cautiously opened the creaky old door, I'm more so enunciate on not knowing what mysteries live inside, right? Like sound more sad there.
Yeah, and so maybe even a pause right before then. It's like she cautiously opened the creaky old door, not knowing what mysteries lay hidden inside. What pops to mind when I read it that way? Something bad happened because of not knowing, right? I'm implying that the not knowing turned into something violent, maybe. It's too much for me to actually bring up the details, so I'm kind of glossing over those details by saying that. The pause implies that it's too difficult for me to explain what the not knowing stuff was, what those mysteries were, but it wasn't good. She faced consequences, really harsh consequences. All of that, the same words, boom, right? Black and white, right there. I haven't changed the words, but now there's two different meanings that are being conveyed only because the delivery has changed. Only because you decided to take a pause here, do an emphasis there, have a different cadence. That's what vocal variety means, is that you can make choices. It's not only choosing what words you're saying, but choosing how you want to represent those words through your delivery, through a pause, an emphasis, a rate change, a facial expression, a gesture. It's a lot to keep track of. It is. But by the time we get there, by the time we're doing a little bit more practicing on like putting together arguments, and you're on your fifth or sixth debate at the end of the semester, it's like I'm expecting you to be able to incorporate some sort of dynamics into your speech, not just organization. All right? Okay. We don't have any viewers anymore. All right. Those are the main things I want to touch upon when it comes to delivery, what I want you to think about. Now, remember that there's online stuff, and a lot of stuff that I covered right now is in those lessons as well. But I also want to make sure I'm addressing any sort of delivery issues that you may have, questions you may have, as far as this component of debate, the actual speaking part, the nonverbal component, because we're going to be spending a lot of time on the verbal stuff. Next week, we're going to be talking about arguments, all right? But this is kind of like a, remember, it's a performance. You're going to be in front of people. People are going to be watching your videos. That stuff matters. Don't ignore all this nonverbal stuff in thinking that just reading something is going to be enough. Okay, so I want to make sure that I'm addressing anything that you have in terms of delivery. Any thoughts that you had about delivery or any questions? No? No? Well, like I said, this one's going to be a fairly short one. There is one other like illustration I like using. That bottle of hand sanitizer, does it have an ingredients on the side? Yeah? Denatured alcohol? And that's it? Okay. One of my colleagues, okay, the reason I'm bringing that up is just an illustration. One of my colleagues had a really, really good way of illustrating the difference between verbal and nonverbal information. Sometimes students think that all I have to do is say things that are true, that are well researched, that are accurate, and then I'll do well. And you won't fail. You're not going to fail. All right. But doing that is like reading the ingredients on the side of a product. If you got a Coke can and read the ingredients to people, like you are accurately portraying information. But are you describing what Coca-Cola is like by doing that? No, not really, right? And so there is more to it than just having accurate information. We talked about accurate information on Monday, right? But there's way more to it. Don't forget, this is a performance. Show that you're having fun. Show that you're competent. Show that you're confident, right? Like there is more to it than just arranging evidence and information in the right order. There's an element that goes well beyond that. Okay, if you're ever confused at your grade and you're like, but everything I said was true, I'm like, yeah, that's only part of debate. There's another part to it. Don't hesitate to ask me for clarification and additional details about what can you do to be more have more variety while you're speaking. Okay, everybody, we're a little beat. It's okay. I get it. On Monday, we have a holiday. So right? Yes. Labor Day is Monday, so we're not meeting here. But when we come back, we're going to talk about arguments. And I consider arguments what they are and how to make them is like absolutely critical to this. It's called argumentation and debate. So understanding what arguments are is absolutely critical. That one might take the entire class session. I would really like it if you reviewed stuff for that one before you came in.
That's Monday.
Wednesday.
Yeah.
Yeah. So because specifically there's something called the Toolman model. So if you have not gotten your online content from Proto Communications, make sure you get that and get up to and through arguments. Okay, like because it really helps. Because there's like a list of terms. I would like to talk about those list of terms rather than define them. The definitions are online. Okay, let's get the definitions first and kind of go. Okay, I heard the definition, but I still don't know what the hell that means. Like, okay, let's work on it. Okay, so if we can have that before we come in on Wednesday, it'll make it way more efficient and way more dynamic. All right. So arguments by Wednesday. Cool. Oh, and also there is one other thing. By Monday, you should have your. I'm pretty sure I'm right about this. There is, right. So that the first of our debates are going to be happening. So the roster is still fluctuating. People are adding, people are dropping, and I don't obviously, I don't want to pair you up with somebody who then drops. Okay, but yes, yes, yes. So I just want to let you know that even though we won't have class Monday, you'll probably see debate pairings on Monday through Canvas. Cool. Yeah. So, but right now, nobody has any pairings because I want to make sure that the roster is set before I do it. Cool. So you're not behind. Just fair warning. Let me show you which one I'm talking about on the syllabus, right? So if you go to the syllabus, it gives you just the full syllabus, but it also lists all these things. The full debate, by full debate, I'm talking like a 2-minute debate. We're just going to be practicing with the technology. So, and yet, wait. Oh, schedule. Yeah. I'll probably extend that because I forgot that Labor Day was on the 2nd. So I don't like having due dates on holidays, right? So that one's probably good. But you'll schedule your full debate and then you will record and submit your full debate by the end of the week. That's right. So all that's going to happen is you are going to be given 2 different classmates and you have to schedule 2 debates with them by Friday. These 2 debates are 2 minutes long. So seriously, you can do both of them in a matter of 10 minutes if you schedule it right. But it's all dependent upon your classmate and your availability between Monday and Friday. There are 5 topics that you will choose from, and there is a process between you and your partner. You kind of go, I don't want to do this one. It's like, well, I don't want to do this one. Well, I don't want to do that one. Well, I don't want to do that one. It's like, okay, we'll do this leftover one. That's how it works. Cool? Yeah. And it's like, there's like cereal is soup, water is wet. You know, so like it's those 2-minute discussions. Yeah, just 2 minutes. Yes. This is not a research assignment. This is about how do we do it online. All right. It's like, so like, how do we use Zoom? How do we use Udemy? How do we schedule with our classmates? That's it. You're not winning debates. It's just the technical aspects of it. Okay. Just be ready for it. Okay, cool. All right, everyone. I'll see you in a week, huh?
We're gonna be like recording our Zoom call, though, right?
Yeah.
That's how we submit it.
Yeah. So Udemy works with Zoom. Yeah, and it's pretty awesome actually. So yeah, you're just good. That's what you're practicing next week.
Got it.
All right, everyone. Have a good weekend.
Bye, thank
Yeah.
you.
All right.
How do you want to respond to it?
Like the peer reviews. So if you go to, first off, let me make sure that you have those peer reviews.
I did message on Canvas when I submitted it.
Oh, you resubmitted?
No, I submitted it late, so.
Give me your name again.
Garcia.
Garcia?
Mhm.
Not Hayden, right? Okay. Let me go to your section really quick. I got 2 online sections. So I'll go to yours. Go take a look at your peer reviews right now. Because if there's a technical problem, then that's the problem. Okay. So we're great speech of introduction. Oh, there's no reminder for those. Oh, yours was a little late. That's the problem. All right. So all I need to do. So anytime you do it late, it does not assign peer reviews to people. It only assigns it to people who turn it on time. So what I'm going to do is now I assign that. And you should be able to see it. Now it would be under modules. This is a very recent design change that Canvas did. So it's, I think if the instructions say go back to the assignment, go to modules, right?
So I should just be able to see it, and then I just respond to the people.
There's 5. But yeah. It's also if it's private, then request access and also make a comment that it's private. We're trying to practice having the privacy settings on Udemy be shareable. Okay. All right.
Also, I saw on Political Communications that there was a quiz for the personal introduction speech. So I just resubmit the link.
Same link. Absolutely same link. Okay.
Cool.
Yep.
Thanks.
Bye.
Have a good day.